let's go on to Elizabeth Warren. So Elizabeth Warren was also at this conference. She's a U.S. Senator for Massachusetts, and she's going to tell us about a very contrary perspective to what Allison was saying, why the Democratic Party should be less about strategy for campaigning and more about fighting for policies. Here's Warren.
Pundits will tell you that the Democratic Party needs to do a better job of messaging. Messaging? Really? I think Paul Wellstone would say that the Democratic Party needs to do a better job of fighting. That's what I think. What millions of hardworking people need right now is for someone to step up and pick a fight on their behalf. That's what I think. They need someone to take on the corporations that are nickel and diming, baiting and switching, and outright cheating our middle class families. They need someone with enough heart to give a damn that working people are losing power in our economy, and enough political courage to do whatever it takes to get it back.
Yeah, so I completely agree with that. And I think this can be epitomized with Bernie Sanders. That's my opinion, because when you look at Bernie Sanders, he's not somebody who's reading off a teleprompter. He's not somebody. I'm sure he had like campaign ads and all that, and I'm sure that was affecting what he was saying. And he did have good messaging strategies. He came off very genuine. But it was really the fact that he was picking a fight on people's behalf, as Elizabeth Warren said, that really got him, I think, 47%, somewhere around there, of the vote in the Democratic primary. I mean, like, and when you ask people why they support Bernie, they're like, yeah, because he's supporting me. He's picking a fight on my behalf. That's why they supported him. So again, it brings me back to this point. Again, a lot of people say that Americans care zero about policy and it's all image. And again, I think it's more nuanced than that, because yes, image and personality matter, but when you tell somebody in their terms, like not giving out a 10-point policy platform, not saying, I want a rise of 0.076% of this tax, yada yada. Not that. I mean, when you put it in human terms, say, have you ever had to decide whether or not to go to the doctor because you don't know if you can afford it? Think of how terrible that is. Think of the people who don't go to the doctor because they can't afford it and end up dying because they can't. And this happens to 28,000 people every year. That's why we need single payer, and that's why we need to make healthcare free and affordable for all, so that your healthcare bill is $0 and that you can always feel secure going to the doctor's office. If you say something like that, right, and for any given issue, not just single payer, if you phrase it like that, that's a policy statement, and you're picking a fight on somebody's behalf, and it doesn't even have to be platitudes or cliches. It can be actual policy content and still connect with people emotionally and viscerally and strongly in a way that gets votes out. So you can craft and manufacture policy statements that really have a large impact on people, I think. What do you guys think?
Well, I think picking fights, like she said, can definitely, like, when you support, I guess the pragmatist in me says it's not picking fights that actually changes things in terms of like people's lives, it's winning fights. So picking fights is all well and good, but if you say, you know, I'm going to be with you against the corporations, well, you need the actual political power to back that up if you want to change things to help, you know.
Right, and I think it's interesting that she talks about that you shouldn't be messaging and you should be fighting, but isn't what she's doing is getting her message across.
Yeah, of course.
Talking to people. So I think it's interesting that she says that when in reality it should be a combination of the two. You need to have good, as we talked about, you need to be present within some of these states. You need to be available to talk to, but you also need to have a strong, you know, ideology that you're fighting for. So I think it's a very gray area that needs to be, you know, combined.
Right, I agree. And I think Elizabeth Warren would agree with that. I think she's responding to the people who say it's all messaging. I think that's kind of what Keith Ellison was saying. He was kind of alleging that like all we need to do is campaign. Obviously he doesn't believe that because he does support like more progressive policies and he's very strong about that. But I think she is responding to the idea that it's like all messaging. I do think it's a combination. Yeah.